if there is a human intervention where we give certain keywords which actually brings certain biases, then in that case, the outputs would be generated in such a way. Culture is something which is totally deep rooted into the core values of the organization. When these Gen Zs enter into the corporate world, what they like is more than the tangible component. They want their voices to be heard. They want appreciation. Every day they want some factor that would be motivating. The work of the HR could be made much more nimble by leveraging AI. But for empathy, emotional intelligence, I would say, HRs really play a predominant role, and this role is something that cannot be replaced by AI.
Welcome to ValueMatrix.tv, where we bring unfiltered voices and strategic thinking to build better workplaces. I'm Royden Surejo, and joining me today is Dr. M. Shanmugapriya, Talent Management Leader at Coro Health, a global healthcare technology and services firm. She's also led HR mandate in the past for some well-renowned finance and tech companies like PayPal and L&D Technology Services. Dr. Priya also comes with an impressive educational background, holding a PhD in biotechnology and multiple HR certifications from institutions like XLRI Jamshedpur and Wharton Executive Education. Altogether, she brings a deep academic expertise combined with senior level industry experience in talent management and culture building. Welcome, Dr. Priya, to the Value Matrix TV podcast.
All right. So thank you, Royden, for the wonderful opportunity.
I just want to start off with your journey to your current position. You've started off as a professor at multiple universities in Bangalore, and now you moved into HR. So, was that the plan all along, or how did that go about?
So, I have a very unique background, so a very strong foundation in science, as you already spoke about it, an MSc PhD in biotechnology. And before stepping into the world of human resources, I have earned MBA and MPhil in management. And I started my career as assistant professor, teaching students of biotechnology in colleges here in Bangalore. But at later point of time, I realized that I have a great passion towards people management, and I thought, okay, why don't I, transform my career into a people management leader, taking HR as my career. So that's how the transition happened from an assistant professor being the head of the department at Bangalore City College, then to a HR professional.
So, I just want to jump right into, the big topic of this today in the HR space is obviously, AI integration. And beyond the obvious, places where it can sort of help, like automation, for example. How do you see AI sort of reshaping decision making when it comes to talent management and HR?
Okay. So when it comes to AI, now that progressive organizations use AI in their decision-making capabilities. So right from the hiring process and then the entire gamut of talent management, AI plays a very predominant role. So if at all in talent management, right now we are leveraging Workday, and then the HRIS tools. At every point of decision making, AI comes into picture. And now that we are leveraging certain tools like Canva for designing, which has AI integrated into it, and then the Gamma app for PPT presentations, and then when it comes to running humongous reports in Excel, then certain AI tools like Numerous AI, Julian AI, all those comes into picture. So AI has become an integral part of HR's life, especially in the cycle of talent management.
Okay. And but so I think one of the biggest hurdles in terms of hiring and recruiting has always been the human bias in it, right? And AI tools or just the technology in general is, at least, it's been presented as a way to sort of mitigate this bias. Do you see this happening, or do you still see challenges when it comes to removing the bias in the hiring process?
So when you talk about bias, AI follows the instructions of human, right? So it's not that AI, the command which we give is executed by AI, and that's how AI works. So if you put the right keywords in place, this will definitely eradicate the bias, and we would be getting unbiased results. So unless if there is a human intervention where we give certain keywords which actually brings certain biases, then in that case, the outputs would be generated in such a way. Otherwise, I think AI would be doing absolutely great job when the instructions are given well.
So you're saying it's basically how it's programmed, right? If it's not programmed well, it is going to only amplify the bias instead of sort of doing the opposite what we wanted to do. Okay, I want to shift to maybe the topic on culture, which I know you're very passionate about. When we talk about the organization's culture or culture fit, we often hear that a lot of organizations are trying to balance having sort of an inclusive and relaxed culture, and at the same time they also have to manage the performance, the goals of and the revenues and all of the actual goals of the company, right? So I have like sort of a two-part question. The first one would be is in your view, in your experience. How has HR's role evolved when it comes to shaping the culture of an organization? And secondly, how can organizations balance having an inclusive culture and at the same time still having sustainable performance, for the company to thrive?
To answer the first part of your question, the role of HR in shaping the organization's culture, I would say, as far as, I see culture is not something which is very peripheral. I really feel that culture is something which is totally deep rooted into the core values of the organization. It's completely forming an integral part of the DNA of the organization. If you see at Koro Health, we strongly emphasize culture right from day one. When a new hire, onboards or embarks his journey at Koro Health, we make sure that we not only talk about the culture, but we actually, act. So the espoused values are strongly aligned with the enacted values. Okay. And when it comes to the onboarding practice, we reinforce the culture of the organization. We talk about the core drivers of the organization. We talk about ownership and accountability. And at each stage, it could be an employee engagement activity, or it could be a feedback mechanism. It could be a transparent communication from the leaders, where that's how employees conjure up the vision of the organization. So in each and every stage, culture becomes an integral part.
Has Does HR have more of a say when you're looking at especially future candidates, the Gen Zs which are coming in, right? In terms of shaping and evolving the culture of the organizations, like how does HR play a part in that?
So, when we are trying to attract great talents from the market, we have a cultural fit. We do assess the cultural fit, whether the person would really be an ideal cultural fit to the organization. So, there comes the culture into picture, right from, attracting the great talent. And even at each stage, the onboarding process, right, when we are, framing the 2-day onboarding program. So there also we talk about culture, right? And then what is really expected out of the job holder in the organization. Okay, so we set the right precedence right from day one about the culture, and there are also KPIs which is framed to reflect the culture. And then in the employee engagement activities also, we talk a lot about the culture. Someone who really exhibits the core values of the organization, bring in the culture fit, then we applaud them at the right time through the rewards and recognition programs. And then if someone really derails from the expected behavior, say collaboration is something which we expect, integrity is something which we expect. Well, when we see an employee derailing from it, then as HRs we have coaching mechanisms, feedback loops, so that we'll put the employees back on track. So right from the entire gamut of HR, we make sure that culture plays a phenomenal and integral role.
I think that covers all the aspects of what I was trying to get at. But when you're looking at onboarding candidates, how would you assess culture fit? Like that particular candidate is a right fit for the organization? Because a lot of times, I mean, it's easier to get somebody with that already aligns with the way of thinking and the values of the company, and obviously that is important. But when you have somebody who maybe has slightly different views or diverse views, some would also argue that that would also enrich and maybe evolve the culture into maybe something that wasn't there before, and it could help the organization thrive. So how do you balance that, and how do you assess sort of cultural fit when you're speaking to candidates, during the interview process?
So during the interview process, we frame questions in such a way that we are able to, bring the innate qualities of the individual. Say, example, if you see the iceberg model, what lies in the upper part of the iceberg is the knowledge skills and abilities, but what lies in the submerged portion of the iceberg is their innate ability to learn, how well they are able to be agile, how well they are able to assimilate to the system. So that's something which we try to gauge. So we frame questions, real time scenarios, situation based questions, behavioral based questions, so that we would be able to get the innate qualities of the individual, and that's how the assessment.
Okay. Would you say those kind of qualities are measurable though? Can you sort of measure them, how well or somebody would fit in a team, or empathy, or EQ basically of the person? How would you measure that?
So let me tell you a scenario based question. Okay. Imagine that when we are trying to hire a person who is a software engineer or a subject matter expert, right? So there, what happens, the person would be a subject matter expert, say he would be specialized in that particular field. But given that we are actually working to the business needs of the customers, if there is a new technology chiming in, or there is something, an additional scope that the person has to equip himself, where he has to embrace a culture of learning so that he gets updated to the current market scenario. So we give him such questions. So this is the environment. How will you be able to cope up, or relate me a scenario in the past, where the earlier version is something which you have worked, and then you have picked up the response, you have picked up the next version, where you have come forward, you had embraced that culture of learning, and you were able to prove yourself. So certain questions we try to frame it in such a way that we are able to gauge the employees by their answers.
Interesting. Dr. Priya, I just want to talk about, I mean, the next generation of workforce that will be coming in, the Gen Zs. And I know that you've given guest lectures at universities where about HR's role in the workplace and talent management. So, since you've had first-hand experience with these young talents who have not yet come into the workforce, according to you, what are their expectations around sort of inclusivity and workplace culture? Do you think that organizations have to sort of reshape their practices to sort of accommodate them so that they feel welcome and sort of do well in the organization, or are the newer generation sort of receptive to the way organizations have been working, and do they conform? So where is that balance according to you?
So, one thing which I really observe during these guest lectures is that when these Gen Zs enter into the corporate world, what they like is more than the tangible component. They want their voices to be heard. They want appreciation. Every day, they want some factor that would be motivating. So, they like innovation. They like creativity. They do not like the same monotonous job, right? So, so what they want is something innovation, creativity, of course, appreciation. Their points should be valued. So that's the current mind, or that's the current trend, or that's the thought of Gen Zs, is what I would say. However, in our organizations of lately, to bridge the gap between Gen X and Gen Zs, we are trying to bring in reverse mentoring. Basically, what reverse mentoring is that Gen Zs might be good in certain, say example, they might be good in, social media, they might be good in AI. But then for Gen X, it could be a little bit strenuous to learn such things. What happens? The overlap happens by reverse mentoring. So here at Coro Health, leaders also embrace a very strong culture of learning. And then when this reverse mentoring comes into picture, it's quite easy for them to overlap the cultural balance. And then Gen Zs also really feel valued, that they have an opportunity to meet the leaders, or the upper layer of the echelon.
So I just want to shift to this term cognitive agility that is becoming increasingly more resonant in the HR space, especially when it comes to hiring. So according to you, when you're looking at doing talent management, what role do you think cognitive agility would play for long-term success? And is there a way to sort of objectively measure this, especially when you're trying to build like a talent pipeline for the long term?
So when you're talking about building a talent pipeline, we strongly believe that succession planning is something which really favors a lot when especially in terms of a crucial workforce leaving the organization. Then we have a ready we have a follower who would be able to take up the leadership roles. So that's the reason we try to identify core and critical resources within the organization and develop a succession planning for them. So to circle back to your question, when it comes to cognitive agility or the cognitive ability of the individual, so what happens here is we do gauge the ability of the high potentials, how well they are able to assimilate to the leadership roles. Say, example, a manager is given an opportunity to be, an individual contributor is given an opportunity to be a first time leader. He goes through rigorous boot camps. So, in the boot camps, there would be real time scenarios where this manager, would be coached by senior leaders, and this senior leaders act as their mentees. Okay, where this manager, the first time manager, would coach a senior leader, and then the senior leader will put him back on track if at all, if there is there is something that has to be equipped in his coaching skills. So again, giving them real time scenarios, involving them in decision making, in real time decision making, how quickly they are able to adapt to various leadership styles. Certain organizations, it's not necessary that everyone has to adapt an authoritative leadership style. There are organizations who has mature teams, and they in fact leverage laissez faire leadership styles. So again, depending upon the situation, depending upon your target team members, you have to blend your leadership style. So during this boot camp or during the coaching and mentoring sessions, we provide real time scenarios, case studies, and simulation exercise, fishbowl activities, to find out their innate quality at that particular situation. How will they negate an issue, bring conflict resolution into picture, team bonding, how do they create high performance teams? All these things comes as a part and parcel of the program. And one thing to add on, since you were talking about the measurable targets, we make sure that we set smart goals, so that it is simple and measurable, time bound, so that at the end of that particular tenure, whether the person was able to achieve the target is something which we will definitely work on the metrics, and then we jump into conclusion. And now that after AI has come into picture, it's more about using leveraging data in decision making, so we also count on data for it.
True. Since you mentioned again AI, I just wanted to ask one thing about AI's efficiency versus human judgment. I mean, everyone wants to sort of automate and speed things up and get the results faster. And obviously, AI is a tool that can do that, provided it's programmed well and you do it right. But I think the core essence of HR and talent management still has to remain human, right? At least I don't believe that it's going to get smart enough that it will be able to find those nuances and have that sort of sixth sense or intuition that humans have when it comes to sort of hiring and talent management. So how do you think organizations sort of should balance the use of AI and human judgment when it comes to talent management?
So, talent management, especially when you're talking about resumes and hiring process, let me tell you. So, there is one open position, and there would be humongous resumes flowing inside, right? Maybe thousands of one single position, and a recruiter screening those thousand resumes manually is something people cannot imagine. But AI, with strong and right keywords, we get whether the person is a cultural fit. And then again, we are now leveraging chatbots, so that at least the preliminary screening process is much more agile, and it gives the right set of resumes to the recruiter so that they can go to the next round of interview. But of course, the technical capabilities and the cultural fit and the human touch, when you wanted to talk about empathy, then it is the HR who comes into picture. Say example, we are talking about a salesperson hiring a sales leader. Okay, say the customer is really very aggressive. Now, how will you make sure that this person, this sales leader, will pacify the customer, make sure that he doesn't get agitated and then he throws some words at the customer, right? So all we want is that his ability to regulate his emotions when he talks to the customer. So that's something which an AI cannot gauge. You want human interventions there, right? So even though the work of the HR could be made much more nimble by leveraging AI, but for empathy, emotional intelligence, I would say, HRs really play a predominant role, and this role is something that cannot be replaced by AI.
Yeah, I think that's very well said and very true. In fact, like even 10 years down the line, I don't see AI replacing the role of HR or talent management. Since Coro Health is a global organization and you have teams sitting all over the world, right? And you would also have like sort of hybrid working environments in some scenarios. In order to maintain like sort of high performance throughout, especially when you have like a scattered team, what according to you, what are some of the barriers that you've seen when it comes to sort of hybrid or global working scenarios?
So post COVID, since that most of the organizations are leveraging this hybrid working environment, I would say so. Generally, people think this high performance and work life balance is a dichotomy or a trade off, but actually, this is not a dichotomy nor a trade off. It goes hand in hand. It complements each other, is what I would say. That again depends upon how well the organizations are able to engage the team members plays a very crucial role even in a hybrid working environment. So do managers have regular check-ins? Do they really talk on well-being of the employee? So whenever there is some need for the team member to talk to a manager, is the manager really available? And then during team meetings, a very transparent communication is something which we wanted to leverage. And especially at Coro Health, this percolates from the upper layer of the echelon so that all employees conjure up the vision mission of the organization. And then we have a very open door policy where any of the team member can walk directly to the C suite and address any of their concerns. So when a team member really feels valued even in a hybrid or remote working setup, it's easy for them to engage, right? And at the same time, you reiterate about the well-being. You constantly do not call the employee, or you do not micromanage them, trying to chase them for frivolous reasons. You don't be a naysayer, don't be a nitpicker. Then ownership and accountability comes into place, and the employees really feel valued, respected, and in turn they will definitely reciprocate.
I think that, yeah, that's well said, Dr. Priya. I just want to get your thoughts on, let's say, if you had to give one advice for organizations, trying to integrate AI responsibly into the talent management space, or what would that be? So
AI into talent management space, it's actually good because it will definitely, when there is a talent management leader who's doing task manually, and when AI comes into picture, of course the working hours will drastically reduce. That's something we can definitely leverage, but again depends upon the need of it. Whether you really need it or not is something which you have to think. For certain organizations, compliance also becomes an issue. So you have to take various factors into consideration before implementing AI. And I would not give a very generalized statement because it again depends upon the organizations and how well they are able to tailor make the AI needs, is something which I would say. And organizations have to do their due diligence in order to incorporate AI into the day-to-day activities of the HR.
Okay. And maybe my one final question before we wrap up, Dr. Priya, is uh, if there's one sort of area or section of HR or talent management that you an issue sort of or a problem statement that you would like to solve, and maybe AI has not yet solved that. But if there is something that is still sort of a barrier or a hindrance, can you think of one area that you still would like AI to sort of solve and fix?
So decision making is something which AI cannot do it. So I think you have to run n number of programs. There will be a lot of trial and error in order to make function, an unbiased or a right one. So maybe if that thing comes into picture, maybe decision making would be much more agile, and certain decisions which really do not need human interventions could be done by AI.
Okay, yeah, I think that's well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Priya, for joining us on this podcast today.
So it's great talking to you. Indeed, I wanted to thank Valuemetrics for giving me this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. To our viewers and listeners, if you're passionate about modernizing HR and building better teams, head over to valuematrix.tv for more great content. Also, don't forget to follow us on social and subscribe to our podcast. Until next time, thank you for tuning in to ValueMatrix.tv, where we explore the future of work one insightful conversation at a time. Take care.